rain fell endlessly, hammering the leaves like 1,000 whispers merging into one. Mark's boots sank deep into the mud as he trudged along the narrow path. His flashlight flickered, cutting through sheets of mist that seemed alive. Every gust of wind bent the towering trees, making them groan like tortured souls. He had come here searching for a lost hiker, but now he felt like the forest itself was hunting him. The downpour drowned out everything, yet faint voices still reached his ears. They weren't carried by the wind, they came from the shadows. Mark stopped, holding his breath as the whispers grew clearer. They weren't words he could understand, but they sounded deliberate, as if someone, or something, was chanting. His radio hissed with static, broken by a sharp scream that vanished just as quickly. The trees loomed tighter, dripping rain that felt colder than ice. He shivered, though sweat clung to his skin beneath his jacket. The ground smelled of rot, as if the forest floor was more graveyard than soil. The whispers continued, circling him like predators. He pointed his flashlight at the darkness between two massive trees. For a second, he swore he saw a pale face peering back at him, wet hair hanging down like vines. He blinked, but it was gone, swallowed by the curtain of rain. His instincts screamed at him to turn back, yet his legs carried him forward. The deeper he went, the louder the voices became, layered in tones that clawed at his sanity. He wanted to believe it was just the storm playing tricks, but the whispers called his name. "Mark?" The sound was faint but unmistakable. He froze, heart hammering in his chest. Nobody knew his name out here except the hiker he was sent to find. He spun in circles, but every direction was the same. Black trees, slashing rain, and mud that wanted to swallow his boots. His throat tightened as the whispers transformed into sobs. Somewhere in the storm, something was crying, begging for help. He forced himself toward the sound, though every step felt like a mistake. The forest floor shifted under him, sucking him down like quicksand. He pulled free with a snap, losing his left boot in the muck. The rain poured harder, and he realized it wasn't just rain. It was warm, sticky, and smelled like copper. His flashlight beam revealed streaks of red dripping from the branches above. Mark staggered back, horrified, but the forest gave him no mercy. From the trees, long-fingered hands reached out, slick with mud and blood. They scraped the air, inches from his face. He stumbled onto a clearing lit only by flashes of lightning. In the center, a circle of stones surrounded a pit filled with rainwater that churned like it was boiling. The whispers were deafening now, layered with laughter and screams. His chest heaved as he backed away, but the trees seemed to close in behind him, cutting off escape. The ground shook, vibrating under his feet as though something massive stirred beneath. Lightning cracked overhead, revealing shapes around the pit, shadows that didn't belong to trees. They moved closer, bending with unnatural rhythm. Mark's radio blared suddenly, a woman's voice shrieking his name. He dropped it in shock, the static echoing across the clearing. The pit bubbled violently, water sprang into the storm. A skeletal arm burst from the surface, clawing at the air with dripping nails. Another followed, then another, until the pit was alive with grasping limbs. Mark screamed, stumbling backward as the whispers became thunderous roars. The forest was waking something that should have stayed buried. The shadows around the pit slithered forward, revealing hollow eyes and gaping mouths. They weren't alive, yet they weren't dead either. They were trapped in the storm, forever whispering. Mark turned and ran, branches tearing his skin, mud swallowing his steps. The rain blinded him, but he didn't care. He just needed to escape. Behind him, the forest howled with voices, thousands of them rising like a cursed choir. He could feel their breath on his neck, cold and heavy. Something was chasing him, faster than his pounding heart. He burst into another clearing, this one filled with broken tents and shredded clothes. Lanterns lay scattered, their glass cracked and covered in dried mud. The missing hikers' camp, abandoned, destroyed, as if swallowed by the forest. Mark searched desperately, but found only claw marks carved into the trees. The whispers quieted for a moment, replaced by the steady patter of rain. He dared to hope he had outrun them. Then a hand landed on his shoulder. He spun around, swinging his flashlight wildly. The beam landed on the face of the lost hiker, eyes blank, mouth moving soundlessly. Rainwater poured from the man's lips as if he were drowning while standing upright. Mark stepped back, shaking his head, but the hiker followed, repeating his name in a choking voice. Then, with a shudder, the hiker's body split open at the chest, spilling black water onto the ground. From inside, dozens of whispering mouths opened, all chanting in unison. Mark fell to his knees, paralyzed by terror. The ground trembled again, splitting with a crack that roared louder than the storm. From the earth, a towering figure began to rise, stitched together from roots, corpses, and dripping moss. Its face was a blur of every soul trapped in the forest, screaming in endless agony. The whispers weren't whispers anymore. They were commands, pulling Mark closer. He tried to crawl away, but the mud held him down, sucking him deeper with every movement. The figure extended a hand, its fingers long enough to blot out the sky. Mark realized too late that he wasn't meant to find anyone. He was meant to join them. Rain poured into his mouth as he screamed, drowning out his final breath. The shadows closed in, wrapping around his body like a shroud. The last thing he saw was the pit, boiling violently as if celebrating a new sacrifice. The whispers filled his head, drilling into his skull until his thoughts were no longer his own. The storm grew stronger, carrying his cries into the endless forest. By morning, the trail would be gone, erased by the rain, and the rainforest would whisper his name forever.